Hi everyone, it's Sarah from the Support Worker Store. Today I've got Connor. Look, Connor, I've got a confession. I have been following you on TikTok for some time now, and I was absolutely thrilled when you said that you could come onto the podcast and talk about all things NDIS, all things business related. But most of all, I think what I really enjoyed the most is that we both had the same mindset about making a really positive impact in our sector. So, can you tell us all about you?
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, hi. My name's Connor Greene. I, although I work within the NDIS space, I feel as though I fit into this sort of weird pocket that, well, I think the rest of Australia has sort of forgotten. ADHD is my known specialty, I guess. It's what got me picked up, I guess, or recognized by others. But yeah, I work to the capacity of being a support worker. I work very closely with a lot of OTs, a lot of psychologists, specialists, educators. I now also work in educating and training those specialties around ADHD. So yeah, I guess that's me. I
Yeah.
don't know
So
another way to
what made
describe
you
it.
start this business? Like, what got you going to want to start a business in
I guess I sort of fell into it, actually. I was in aged care, actually, and I went to expand into disability because as depressing as this sounds, I didn't enjoy getting very close to a lot of the individuals in aged care and, waking up to find out that they've passed away. And I sort of just went, I can't do this emotionally. So I moved away and moved into disability. And one of the first clients that picked me up was a child that was autistic. And from there, a lot of other people then went, wow, you've made so much progress in the past few weeks. We want to, recommend you to some other. And then I just kept getting call after call to go and work with other young individuals or young adults. And it sort of grew from there. I met a family that they would message me going like, this is what's happening. I don't know what to do. And I'd go, okay, I'm going to break down exactly why your child is doing that. And they said to me, you should write a book. You should, put this out there for others. You should explain what's going on because this is the stuff I should explain, they had a very, very, very small plan, a very, very small NDI plan, and they found more benefit for them to be educated on how to work with their child than their child to be getting funding to see a therapist one on one. And they have no idea what's going on. They don't know what to work towards. They don't know what's happening. They found more benefit out of that. And I just started putting that advice up online, and a lot of people resonated with it, and a lot of people, attached to it, I guess.
so what does a day look like for you?
Chaotic. So, oh geez, no day has been the same. Occasionally, nowadays, I do a lot of telehealths because I prefer to work with the parents. That's not to say that, I don't enjoy spending time or working with the kids. It's just that I find that a lot more progress gets made working with the parents and educating the parents on what's happening. But I am called in to do professional development at schools. I do have a small list of participants or clients that I see each week, and it's often at the end of the day after school. But like sometimes things just go wrong. Like the other week, I was called up to a school because a child put a chair through a window. And, the school didn't know what to do or how to calm them down. And I got called and asked, can I make it up there? Because, and this is the reality for a lot of parents, they can't get out of work. So I go up there, I take the kid out of school, I calm them down, I get to the bottom of what's going on, and we go from there. But it's
Is
things
it
like that that sort of make the day unpredictable.
is that mostly communication
It's
for the
always
kid?
communication.
Yeah. And what are the things that
Ev
you
ev
find
ev
they miss?
it's I'm not gonna put it I'm not gonna put it back on the teachers and say that, you're just
God
missing
no.
the
Yeah.
very obvious
Yep.
cues. It's like you're in a room with 32 other kids. Get it. Good luck. But of course that doesn't take away from the fact that it is communication. And it can be as simple as, they have a relief teacher and this child is meant to be able to have a movement break to go and, get that movement break, that mental break, that brain break. And they tell the substitute, and the substitute has no idea that this is a thing that they're allowed. And so they think that they're pulling their leg. And they
Yeah.
go, well, no. It's not happening in my classroom. And then it picks up from there. So yeah, it's communication, but I don't think there's one individual that's at fault. I just think that it's yeah.
So a lot has changed in the schooling sector between you and I being at school to now. And yeah, with the changes that you've seen,
Making us all feel old.
sorry,
Making us all feel old, yeah.
wiser. We're
Yes,
wiser.
that's the word. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
So, because the way that it has changed so dramatically, really, in the last couple of decades, on the way that we support people within the school system, have you made you reflect to the time when you were at school that the kids that were once called naughty were actually kids with ADHD or autism?
Yeah, I was one of them. I was late diagnosed ADHD actually. So
Yeah.
we we picked up on the autism when I was in early in high school, but there was no real support or understanding. I didn't understand what it meant either, or what to do, or how to go about it. Nobody did. The landscape itself, I think things have gotten worse. I'll dissect it a bit. I think that the way that society has gone and the things that we now have in society have amplified the deficits that many of us have. Things that we would not have struggled with in the past. That yes, we are better at identifying ADHD and autism and all these deficits and struggles with neurodevelopmental conditions, but it is also 100% the fact that the environment within our society is working against us. When you have a kid that is going to be very easily indulged and locked on to video games and technology, why are you putting it in front of them in a classroom? You give them a laptop and go, this is how you have to do all schoolwork. And then you get annoyed with them because they deviate from what they're meant to do. And so you just dangled a piece of meat in front of a lion and then punished it for its instincts. Like it doesn't work. And in the same way, in fact, I think TV is probably the easiest one to explain and encapsulate what I mean. And that is the fact that once upon a time you had pre-programmed viewing. Okay, so you knew what was on at what time because it was the same thing every single day. When you had an ad break, you couldn't skip it. So it's pretty boring to sit there and watch the ads. It's better to I'm gonna go and brush my teeth, or I'm gonna go get ready for school. I'm gonna get my school bag ready. It became this game of get it done and make it back before the ad breaks over and you miss your show. So you've just hit these motivators for kids with ADHD of like urgency and challenge. You for those that are time blind, you knew exactly what was on at what time. It's like, oh look, Dragon Ball Z's come on. Dad's about to kick us out the door to get ready for school. Now we don't have that. We have Netflix, Stan, and Disney, and you just turn it on and it just goes from one to the next to the next. There's no ad breaks. There's nothing to force you off. And children that struggle with transitions, all children struggle with transitions, but these ones that struggle even more, there is nothing to force them off. And
Do you
so, go on.
Yep. Do you believe that because of your autism and ADHD that you're able to see these gaps in kids and that's why you've been quite successful working with them?
I it's actually quite funny that because I never understood what autism was when I was younger. I didn't get it. Back then it was also called Asperger's, but Hans Asperger was part of the Nazi party. He has a lot to explain for himself. So we just moved it to autism. But saying that I always understood those with ADHD. I always was able to calm those with ADHD. I was always able to reflect on the behaviors. And it wasn't until a 7-year-old, many, many, many years ago now, said to me, he asked me to describe what was in my head. Because I have this neat little trick where you could pick any subject or any genre, and I'll be able to tell you something interesting about it. And he attributed that to intelligence. And he said to me one day, like, what is it like in your head? And I just said that it's loud. And he was the first person ever in my life to respond by saying same. And he then described exactly what it was like in my head to me. And I went, oh, I should probably go see somebody about this. And then it made so much sense that it's like, oh, it's not that I understand them. I am them. I get it. Okay. That clears up a lot. I always struggled with being able to interpret words or meaning behind the words or read between the lines. I struggled with tone and volume and body language because none of it synced up. None of it made sense in my head. I always thought it did, but it didn't. And when I realized that this was a problem at 14, I started absolutely hyper focusing on learning body language, much like, I think that was the time when the TV shows Lie to Me came out and The Mentalist, and I just hyper focused on it to the point where I am now incredibly good at judging body language if I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
If I'm not looking for it, it's terrible. I think a good friend of mine the other day told me that they always give me the side eye, and I'm like, "Do you?" It's like, "Yes, every morning when you talk to me before my coffee." I'm like, "Whoops, I never noticed."
There's that element of a superpower, isn't it? Because I'm dyslexic as fuck, yeah. So to put it blunt. So there's things that I can see that others can't. And I understand what you mean when you say about body language because I can read somebody before they even sat by their desk, how their morning was before they got there. And that's a skill set not everyone has.
Those that are dyslexic, if you're dyslexic, you are also dyslexic in Braille and sign language. But aside from that really cool fact,
I can swear in sign language.
those
Does that count?
I mean, I was just gonna, that's a good one. But those that are dyslexic are also really, really good at visual spatial understanding.
Mm, 100%.
I've known
Yeah,
known a few young adults that like I cannot beat them in a strategy game
yeah.
because I
I
swear that they can see in so many different dimensions.
call it the third screen. It's like I've got a screen up here and it's pulling apart problems and seeing things and how I would move or, fix a problem that I had. And then you've got that part there but also there's that fixation of trying to solve the problem because it's annoying the shit out of me. So it's that hyper and it's intense, but I do find it really hard to explain that to people that aren't a little bit spicy. It's very difficult. They find it really wild when I talk about the other screen.
I because I used to work in the motorsport scene as well, and I have ADHD. I've done everything, but it
Let's
used to
not
be
play
like
that game.
when there used to be a problem with the car mechanically, like I could feel it, or you could hear it, or see it. And my head would have this blowout of every single piece to the car, and it would just hone in on something, and I knew exactly what it was, and I could never describe it to anybody. I would just say, like, it's just a feeling, and it would be bang on accurate. This sounds terrible if you don't know that there is care and passion behind this, but I had a kid that came into my care just recently because their behavior had escalated, and they couldn't work out what was going on. And so I said, all right, just, I'll look after him for a few days. We'll try and figure this out. But as the parents were telling me what was going on, by the way, this is a long time client of mine. So I just hadn't seen them for a very long time. And they said they were trying to explain what was going on. And as they're doing so, I had this smile on my face. And the mother just went, "You're really excited about this, aren't you?" And I'm like, "I like the puzzle. It's this blowout of everything that could possibly be going on, and it just, yeah, it's very handy. It works really, really well." But trying to describe that to somebody who's not neurodivergent, they don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially that super focused part where you're trying to undo the the problem to find the solution and the levels that I don't know about you, but I will go to figure the problem out. And it might take me a short time, it might take me hours. The other night I learned how to do some coding and then there went my night. It was just super focused, had to get to the issue down to the root, down to the problem. So when you're explaining ADHD, how would you explain it in some simple words for people?
You know how you have a train of thought?
Yes.
Yeah, it's multiple trains, but they're all sort of not on the right track and they often derail when they crash into one another. So nothing ever actually arrives at the station and you don't know what you walked into the room for. That's the fun way of describing it. The way that I really like to describe ADHD is I like to rename ADHD. I think ADHD is a terrible name. I would prefer to call it, and you could branch it off into a few of them depending on what the main deficits are, but my favorite one is self-regulation disorder, and it's because it encapsulates everything that ADHD is, the inability to regulate any part of your life. I have worked with kids that when they go to work a tap, it's either off or it's full speed. There is
Yes.
no in between. It's either they're extremely tired or they have all the energy in the world. It's either they don't care or they are locked on. It's either they have no hunger at all or they will devour the entire fridge if you don't stop them. There is no in between. And so it's the same, with that's where you get the attention side of it. It's either all the attention or nothing. And I've had kids that you see it, I've captured on camera, but nobody will actually notice these little details. And they'll be let's I'll use my beanie as an example. Let's say this is their bag, and they go to get something out of their bag, and as they get it out of their bag, their attention shifts to this, and they drop the bag just where it stands. It's completely vanished from their thoughts and their mind. It's gone. I'm gonna get that beanie back.
You're just reminding me of my friend.
It's like, what was it? Just this morning, the kid that has been in my care, he dropped him back today, and I've gone like, "Hey mate, you need to go and get your clothes and go get changed." He's like, "I know," and then walks out of the room, and I'm like, "Mate, mate, back. Hey." He's like, "What? I'm gonna get changed." "Okay, you need your clothes for that? They're over there." He's like, "Oh yeah." Picks them up and then walks in a completely different direction. "What are you doing, mate?" He's like, "Right." Turns back around. I'm like, "Oh God." Okay. Yeah. The ability to self-regulate anything.
Do you think it's also the ability to understand yourself? And this is completely off topic, right? And the reason why I say that is that I have met people that are dyslexic like myself, but the difference was that they found out later in life. So it's kind of like they didn't have that opportunity to grieve the fact that they were a little bit different because they found out later. Where I was, I think, quite lucky to find out quite young. So I had all that opportunity to understand, and I'm still working on parts that I'm trying to understand, but I feel like I had that upper hand.
So one key component to ADHD is actually the lack of self-awareness for many reasons. It's also one that makes it incredibly, incredibly hard to work through. It's why people like to say, oh, there are other ways of going about managing ADHD, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT or DBT. And they try to associate that with kids and go, oh, put the kid into therapy for their ADHD. It doesn't work because they haven't got the self awareness. They haven't got the perspective. They haven't. I've been asked to do telehealths and coach kids with ADHD. And I always say to the parents, kind of like, just be mindful. They might not be aware of their struggles or deficits. And they'll come onto the call and you go, so, what's going on? Nothing. Do you have any struggles? Your mother said that you have difficulty with time? No, because if they didn't have, if they had self-awareness, they wouldn't struggle with time. They wouldn't struggle with losing attention and focus on things because they'd be aware of it for a start. And then, of course, you have on the other side of things, you have autism, where your perspective and your ability to understand the environment around you is very, very different. So it's hard to put yourself into somebody else's shoes. And when somebody says, "Oh, you didn't understand what I was saying. Like you said I did exactly what you said. I you're telling me that I'm the one who misunderstood? You're the one who misspoke." And so you have this conflict. The kids that I work with, the ones that I work with in person, when I first meet them, they are very, very, there's a lot of pushback. I don't need help. I don't need support. I don't need somebody there. And over time, they start to realize because you can actually model it, they can see it in others, but they can't see it in themselves. And because I like to try and get the kids that I work with to meet one another and we all do social activities together and they start to see it and start to understand it. And that's where their awareness grows. But if you don't have that, the only time you're going to be able to reflect on this is when you're an adult and you've sort of gotten more perspective and more understanding of the world.
Reminds me
Yeah.
of a story. I've got a story for you. I was working with some young chaps back in the heyday, and one they both got autism, and one turns to me and says, "That guy there, Sarah, he's autism. Geez, he's very autistic." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I was like, "So, like, you don't like, not be you." And the idea that he couldn't see or perceive that they were quite similar, but different, if that makes any sense, with some of their
Yeah.
characteristics and the things that they were doing. But he was able to note that his friend had it and he didn't.
Yes, yes. I think this is quite funny that when I did work on motorsport, I had a company that I co-owned called Grip Attack, and we had a number of volunteers that used to help us out at all the events. And one by one, they all got diagnosed with ADHD,
Yep,
except for one of them,
yep.
except for one. And I think it was maybe 2, 3 years after everybody else had been diagnosed, they messaged me and said, like, Connor, do you like my girlfriend says that I should look into it. Do you think I just sort of went like, "Oh my god. Oh, geez, mate. I'm so sorry. I thought you knew. I just assumed." He's like, "Oh, so I probably should." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, man. Surprise."
But
Yeah.
do you find that interesting that you lean towards people that are similar to, I don't know you, but I feel like I've just got a group of neurospicy female friends surrounding me. And the idea of having somebody that's not, I find them a little bit boring. If I said that out loud.
A lot
I
of the
said
kids
that
I
out
work
loud.
with, they call them neurodifficults.
Yeah.
It's not strange because you understand each other, you have the same sort of behaviors. It's not weird to you. And it sort of has that thing like, "No, everybody does that."
Mm.
Nope, your small circle. It's what is really surprising is when you've convinced yourself, and because this happens to everybody that I work with, everybody that I know, everybody that works in the same field has ended up in this field because they were that kid that didn't get recognized. So now they work in this field. All of my friends, my family, we're all neurodivergent. So I go, nah, we've got to be the majority. And then I go to like an awards night with for my kid, and his mother and I are sitting there and we're just tapping our legs, just going like, we look around, everyone is just sitting there, feet flat on the floor, staring. And I'm just like, is there nothing going on in your heads? Like,
Yes.
this is weird.
I was talking to one of my friends. She goes, "Do you know what I find so strange, Sarah? There are people when they look out the window and they look to the sky, it's blank." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, people look out the window and daydream, and they're blank, like there's no thought process." And I was like, "No, that can't be serious because I look like like 100 things a mile going, the head's ticking, like oh, imagine if I could, I should. Oh, Sarah, like all the ideas start you know, to
Yeah.
fester and grow itself. But then the idea of people just looking out the window and not thinking at all, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't get it. When my grandmother passed away, um, I went to the funeral for that side of the family, and that side of the family is neurotypical. And I had my kid with me and realized that we were the only two that like were tapping our foot in the church. And I'm like, it's a bit awkward. And it's just like, it just made me realize it's like, oh wow, we really are just a completely different wired system here. And I love my family, but I also realize that sometimes when they have a conversation, I don't know how to engage. And it's that small talk. And even my kids said it to me. It's like, I don't know what to say when they ask, "How am I?" So, actually, I don't know either. I've just sort of grown accustomed to the whole, like, "Yeah, good, good, you?" I don't know where to take that. Whereas those that I'm close to, you go like, "How are you?" And like, it's a long story. Do you wanna know?
You said that you spent some time as a support worker. What do you believe would make a great support worker?
Passion to not be doing it for the money.
Mm.
I know that you have to live, you have to survive. Of course I do. But I learnt very early on that there are very different people in the disability and the aged care space. There are those that do it because they want to make a difference and the money is how they can use it to make a difference. And then there are those that are there to make the money.
There's a big
I don't
difference.
I
Yeah.
don't think there's a third type. There's just those two. And it's like, in fact, with all these changes in the NDIS, I've been called by so many people that have just gone like other colleagues have gone like, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do to continue to support people? It was never about like, well, what am I gonna do about my job? It's all what can we do to help? That's a big difference.
You are who you hang out with, that's for sure.
Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
Have you heard that quote?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It yeah, you are who you sit with. It says a lot about you as an individual. I think if you're around passionate people that enjoy and love their job, then they do more. They support workers always do more when they love what they do. It's when you're there for money, it's not a love job. It's a it's an income-based one. Yeah, I never got
Yeah.
into the sector for money. I got into the sector because I really enjoy working with people. I love the conversation. I like watching people grow. That's probably the things that I did and why I did it is because you could see it in real time, the growth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's looking back for me that just sorta I don't know, I feel privileged. Feel incredibly privileged. I have God, how old would some of them be now? Ooh, there are some people that I've worked with that are about 23, 25 years old now. I used to work with them when they were, like, 11 or 12, and I'm just like just to look back at where they once were and where they are now, and I'm just sorta like I'm so happy that I got to be a part of that.
You
Yeah.
get to see like a whole life approach. But so what can support workers do to better understand kids with ADHD? Because I will say that back in my provider days, one of the cohort that I provide care for were 14-year-old boys, and it was the 7 o'clock to 9 a.m. to assist them to get to school.
So the one where the medication is not in their system and it's just complete chaos.
That one. Yeah.
How can what was it? How can they better understand or how can they better support?
Both. How can you better understand a kid, getting up in the morning, in general, right? A kid with ADHD, and how can we better support them as support workers?
Is this where I do like that shameless plug of you could read my book? No, don't.
No, go for it. I want to hear about it. I want to hear about the
I
book.
don't. I don't have one readily available. I have like a bunch of them in the other room, but none of them are like
Be like, but
in
wait,
reaching space.
there's more.
You have to understand ADHD. God, I literally wrote a blog on like the 5 things you need to do to better support somebody with ADHD today, and I can't remember which 5. I'll just go off top of my head. Prevention. Everything is prevention. In every single moment, it's prevention. That is the key to working with ADHD. The other ones are, it's never about the behavior. The behavior is a symptom. The trigger is somewhere else. Don't focus on the behavior. In the morning times, and in fact, this isn't just ADHD, this is just children in general. If they need support, they need support. There seems to be this idea that, you know, they're 11 years old, they're 13 years old, they should be able to do it by now. Like, okay, well, what if they can't? Are you going to sit there and get angry and upset over the fact that they can't do it? Are you going to continue to support them and help them learn how to do it or find another way for them to do it that's easier? Maybe they can't do it today. And in fact, that's something that it really struck me in the aged care sector, and that is that those that the older gentlemen, it was primarily men. Those that declined quite rapidly are those that refused help. They became so hyper independent that they didn't get help. Those that accepted the help were able to improve and do better. And it's the same thing with kids. And in fact, start them to understand the fact that support doesn't mean that they're weak, that support doesn't mean that they're incapable. Support is the fact that it's support. I like to put it as like, I'm not helping you because you're incapable. I'm helping you because this is how I show that I care.
Yeah. It's kind of like being someone's calm in their storm,
Yeah.
in the sense that we're centered and then we're watching and more. But please, can you tell me about your book? What? How many books? Because I'm sorry, I'm off topic, but how many books have you written?
Completion. I have 3 books that I'm still working on. I actually have the tab that's sitting down here that I just haven't put together. Hold on, for some reason it's not focusing on me. There we go. So the first book that I wrote it because the mother had told me you need to put these things down. And I did. I found myself repeating the same things over and over and over again because I didn't like the way that ADHD, people didn't understand what the hell ADHD was. They got a diagnosis, which comes from a tick and flick of like, here's the Connors, here's the Vanderbilt. Yay, cool. You have one of the 3 types of ADHD, which is inattentive, hyperactive, or combined. And they didn't know anything else beyond that. They didn't know that it affects your ability to manage time. They didn't know that it affects your ability to use working memory. They don't even know what working memory is. And so when you go to look up what these traits are, they have the most over the top explanations for clinicians to really get a grasp on, and parents don't. That's not realistic to them. So I started writing from my experience of my family, experience of friends, experience of the kids that I work with, to explain what the symptoms actually are and how they all tie together. So you would go through different parts of like anxiety and choice paralysis and like, should I take my jumper? But if I take my jumper, then I have to carry my jumper. If I have to carry my jumper, then I can't play. But if I want to play, then I take it and I leave it somewhere, then I might lose it. And then I'm going to panic. So I could give it to my parents. But if I give it to my parents, then they're going to get upset from carrying it. And it's like, okay. And I then explained how all of these things, go together and where this dysregulation and this conflict in the household come from. But I did it in a way that I tried to make it as ADHD friendly as possible. I used pictures. I had big font and like lots of spacing, A, for those that are dyslexic, and two, because it meant that it was a page turner. You were turning the page really easily and you felt accomplished. The second book I put together was a book of strategies, and that took me 2 years to put together. It was just very straightforward strategies that I use every single day working with kids and how to manage certain behaviors or transitions. Like the kid that just struggles with that transition, instead of going, "Hey, put on your shoes, let's go," it's, "Do you want me to put on your shoes or do you want to put on your shoes?" And that is a transition where they go, even if they go like you, cool. They have also, kind of agreed that you're going out, and it makes the transition far easier. But a lot of people just don't come to think of these things.
Yeah. What happens next before it happens, or, reading, it's really is reading the room in that sense of what to expect and then seeing a problem before somebody else sees it. So you pretty much a calm and so on storm.
Yeah.
And
I
always,
hoped I'd hoped that the book, and in fact, I guess it did accomplish that. The book ADHD Explained, which goes over the different symptoms and all that, I had a lot of people read it first because I was so worried that I would just not get the point across. And some people would read it and they would go, "Yeah, I definitely don't have ADHD. I can't relate to this at all."
yeah,
And that was brilliant for me because I was like, good, because so many people go like, "Oh, everybody can experience ADHD." And like, well, yeah, because they're human behaviors. It's the frequency that, crosses it into the definition of a disorder, which is Jerome Wakefield's definition of, it's a harmful dysfunction, something that impacts your daily life. And the other people that would read it, some of them would sit back and cry because they either finally realize it for themselves or they realize what their kids are going through, and they can start to see the strings that connect everything. And so they can prevent these things from occurring instead of reacting to them. So I guess I got it. I was very happy with that. All the other books that I've been writing, one of them was explaining the increase in diagnosis, why there's been this increase, that it's not an over-diagnosed condition, it's just that it's a under-recognized, correlating such things like left-handedness, which, by the way, was only really sort of destigmatized in the 1950s. Do you know what the word sinister means?
go for it. Tell me.
Left.
My
Sinister is
mum's a
the
bit
left.
sinister. I agree with you,
Do you know what ambidextrous means?
but can use both. Two hands.
No, it actually goes back to the translation of two right hands.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, sinister being on the left and two right hands being ambidextrous. So the left was always stigmatized. And then, of course, you have children in school that are told you can't use your left hand. So they have to always use the right. So what happens when that happens? You have kids that are forced to learn to write. They will never get their handwriting properly. They will be slower with it. They won't have the dexterity or the articulation in their hands to do things like brush their teeth properly or play sports. They'll be bad at this, they'll be bad at that. They never develop properly. And it wasn't until it was destigmatized did all these people go like, "Oh my God, I can do all these things so easy. I've been left-handed all this time."
Yeah.
And then you see this rise in those that are left-handed. It's not that they suddenly just became left-handed. It's the fact that it became destigmatized and people understood it, just like ADHD, just like autism.
Yeah. You look at our time at school to now, it's very different. More
Yeah,
diagnosed before than ever before. And the kids that were called naughty weren't exactly naughty, more misunderstood for their
I,
abilities.
I it's It's just changing around all that vocabulary. Like, the attention seeker in class. No, they're a connection seeker. Changes the way that we look at it.
Oh, 100%. So you've created all these books. You do speaking gigs as well. Have you got any speaking gigs coming up?
I have 2. One of them is with My Spirited Child. I like to call this a bit of social suicide. I'm doing a webinar on ODD versus PDA. I call it social suicide because it is a very, very hot topic, and people don't like if you were to say anything that might go against how they feel about it.
Yep.
That's gonna be an interesting one. I think I've boiled it down pretty well. I think people will be happy, as I branch out and cover all the things that to do with it. And the other is I'm doing one with Sarah Hocking from See Beyond, and we have decided to do it each year now, and that is that we're doing a seminar on the transitions the transition to high school for neurodivergent children, because a lot of
Yeah.
parents are unprepared for this, and sure enough, we get a influx of calls near the end of term 1 and start of term 2, because that's when it all falls apart.
So how did you get to be able to do all these fun stuff? It's like for some people this is quite fun and I think it's quite fun
Yeah.
because I think mostly because I'm curious for information. That's just the way I'm wired. I'm nosy. Is it from your social media presence? Is it from your books? Is it from the work that you do with your client group? How did you get to these opportunities?
I think it's been a mixture of all. Certainly have to thank other specialists in other areas of the same field that have listened to me and projected me out and have given me that I'm not going to say the platform, I'm going to say they've given me the opportunity to say what I've got to say a lot further. I know that it started taking off because I would be on so many different Facebook pages and Facebook groups. People would ask for advice and I would give them the resources and explain it. I guess I explained it in a way that people could relate to more easily, and that's where people sort of started following. That was never intentional at all. My Facebook profile is a personal Facebook profile, and I had to switch to a professional profile because I think it's now over 103,000 or something like
Yeah,
that, which I never expected.
an influencer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh god. I was
It doesn't
recognized
sit
on a
well, does it?
recognized on a plane. I was recognized on a plane a couple of weeks ago. My mother was talking to somebody on a plane that was a social worker, and they got talking about me, and they went, "Oh yes, I've seen." I'm like, okay, wow. I even got recognized trying to go for ski gear. Like, wow, that's no, I never expected that.
Yeah, and it's not intentional.
No,
It's
I don't know how I feel about it.
it's icky at times, isn't it?
I got a lot of hate. I have a lot of
Yep,
haters. I like to have
yep.
fun with hate.
That's for a podcast for another time, what I do with them.
Yes, yes. I put it down to the fact of like I never wanted to be a social figure, but if me being a social figure means that other people get the information, get the help, and get the resources that they need, then sure, okay, I'll do that. I've been perfectly happy just working with the small amount of clients that I have doing the private telehealths, but I know that a lot of people might not have the opportunity to reach out in that way or access. Like, I'm trying to articulate the right way of putting it.
Because it is a feeling of giving, isn't it? Because you're giving it for free. It's not something that you're receiving an income for. You're giving information out for free to give other people an opportunity, or is it
I
that desire
feel
to
like
for
I
people to
owe
be heard?
myself. I feel like I owe myself, as in my younger self. I feel like I owe my younger self. Nobody else had this information and resources back then.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
know, and in fact, the thing that absolutely shocked and saddened me was the fact that I put these videos up online for parents and educators, and majority of the inboxes that I get is from kids. And sorry,
Yeah, and make it yeah. That's
yeah,
it's it
that's
sometimes it's the element of giving that information, but also do you ever think it might be your way of an apology to yourself?
I used to think that I was self-sabotaging myself, and I that held me back in fact, I'll say it for how it is. When I was getting diagnosed for ADHD. The psychiatrist said to me, like, "What do you want to get out of this?" I said, "I don't really want anything out of it. What do you expect from the medication?" And of course, when I was going through this process, I looked rough. My life was rough. And I said to him, like, I'm not expecting a magic pill. I'm not expecting my life to suddenly be fixed. He's like, "Well, what are you expecting?" I said, "Look, I just want to say that I've tried everything before I check out." And he paused, and it was at that exact moment that I had a kid that I was working with that I took the telehealth in the car. I was sitting in the driveway, and this kid came outside and opened up the door, and they were like, "Who's this?" I was like, "This is the kid that encouraged me to get this telehealth." And he went, "Okay, all right, I'll write you a script." And I tried the medication the next day. And I remember that I pulled over on the side of the road and I just cried because for the first time in my life, my head was quiet.
Is it weird, that feeling?
I was angry. I was so angry because I realized that everything was so easy to do, and it was horrible because all these people that had made judgment had no idea how hard it was. And I was almost angry at myself because I thought that I was doing everything wrong.
Is
And
that
it was
quite
after
common?
incredibly,
Yeah,
incredibly.
really stinging because you were never going to win. So is it a self-sabotage or is it an element of protecting yourself?
As time has gone on, I realized that laziness doesn't exist. It doesn't. There is always a reason. I've seen people that, they're opening up a package to something and they leave the packaging right there on the bench, right next to the bin. And people go like, "You're so lazy, why don't you just put it in there?" Like, you honestly think that they would prefer that you berate them and rip into them every single day that they make that when they could have just knocked it off?
Yeah.
Or do you think that maybe something just sort of glitched out? Laziness doesn't exist. I've seen people pull their life together when the support has arrived. Yeah. S
And support looks different to everybody, and the levels that you need look different as well. And yeah, when I say support, a lot of people, when they think of support, they think of support workers. Somebody turns up for 5 hours on a Tuesday and, "I'll assist me to go to the shops." It's not always that. And it's not always the going to the shops or is it going to the movies and all that stuff. Sometimes support is just listening and understanding and being a part of somebody's aura, their life. We complicate it.
Yeah. The and just looking at, like the support worker side to it, there are so many that they don't need you to do anything besides be there.
I
Somebody
agree.
that's there are some that just being there, not being judgmental, not just having your presence, that is more than enough.
For some people that we support, you might be the only person that they see or have a conversation with until next week. You might be it. And for a few people, we are it. We're they're it. We're what we do outside of their home and all that stuff. And when they ask questions, we're a part of their story, and that's what is the entertaining part. It isn't so us turning up isn't about the physicality of things. It's also about that social interaction and that connection.
When I was working in aged care, there was a gentleman that, he didn't always want to get out. What he loved to do was he loved me to bring over my iPad and we would watch Modern Family together. That's what we would do every single time. And I know that there would be people on Facebook groups and stuff like that going like, "Oh, just that's what a rort, what a bludge." No, this is genuinely what they wanted to do. This was their social time. They liked the parallel experience. It gave them things to talk about. It gave them a communication. We laugh together. Support doesn't always have to look the same for everybody. It just doesn't.
And that's exactly what the NDIS was meant to be. It's not meant to be a one size fits all solution. So with all the change, well, that's
I was
IRACOG.
like, I know
That's
where
what
this
I recall
subject's
when it
going.
first came out. It has
Yep.
changed a lot since it first got delivered. For somewhere along the lines, once it was released, it was really about independence and developing skills and, working towards some goals. And then somewhere in the middle, it went a little bit skewy. Well, if I teach them independence, that means I will get less participants. So therefore, I will
Mm,
do the bare minimal so I can continue to keep somebody without looking at a whole life approach for an individual.
so
But
I how do I go about this? When I was moving into the disability sector, I realized that there are some providers out there that loved what I would call, and this is not meant to be an insult to them, it's meant to be an insult to the providers that do it, and that is that they look for their cash cow.
Yes, that they do.
I
Yeah.
don't like that.
Yep. Horrible. It is disgusting that we label people by their monetary amount, not about what provide like if we can provide really good quality care. That that's off-putting.
I have a friend that I helped them get recognized for their neurodivergence and helped them get a NDIS plan, and it is a substantial NDIS plan because it is required. And so they're illiterate. They really struggle to read and write. They also have selective mutism, which is really fun to deal with when you're with people and they're like, yeah, but we need them to tell us. Like, they can't. And so their emails will come through to my phone, and if it's something important, I'll, like call them and go, "Hey, this came through." And when they first got accepted to the NDIS, the amount of providers that suddenly flooded his inbox that I have no idea where they got his email or his personal details from was disgusting.
Yep.
I've never seen that happen, and I can only assume that it was because he had such a large NDIS package. It sickened me. And aside from the fact that I work with people that have very, very, very minimal plans,
Yep.
like I have colleagues that know that I shoot myself in the foot regularly, but I also put it down to the fact of like, this sounds terrible. I am not well off financially. I am financially comfortable because I have other means of income. So I have the books, I have the telehealths and stuff like that, which is things that are not supported by NDIS. So when I do have clients that have such small plans, I would prefer to take a cut. I would prefer to, reduce rates. I would prefer to go, okay, we're going to combine it with this so that, we can save money on your plan here because I want them to reach their goal. Don't want somebody that my biggest fear is somebody running out of their plan and them being left. Terrifies me.
It's
Yeah.
unfair and it's avoidable. That's why it's terrifying because it can be monitored and it doesn't need to happen. Yeah. That's probably why one of the many reasons why the NDIS have changed to all sorts of things because of it. Yeah, there were periods of time I recall a couple of years back where support coordinators would drain a plan and then have a reassessment and the money would just appear again, it appears. And it's wildly insane. So I understand the restrictions now in place. Yeah, we're in some interesting times ahead. Is there anything business related that I haven't touched on today? Tonight? Where
I'm
are
trying
you
to think of all the
located?
things I do.
I haven't even asked you where you're located in Australia.
Brisbane.
And if somebody would like to be a participant of yours, is it a slide into your TikTok DMs? Is
This
it an Instagram? Is it a Facebook
sounds
page?
this
How do they
sounds
get to
so,
you?
so terrible. This sounds so terrible, and I hate it. But I guess I finally have the ability to explain why I've done it this way. If somebody is looking to be a participant of mine or have me work with their child or teenager or anything else like that, oh my God, I have a questionnaire on my website to do it, which sounds terrible that it's like this highly selective
Because not everyone
process.
right, because not everyone is the right participant for you to provide support to. Let's be honest, yeah?
I have
Because you
encountered
yep,
Yeah, I have encountered parents that just want to fob off their child. It terrifies me when I
yep,
go to meet somebody for a meet and greet and they go, "Yep, here you go. Here's my child. Bye." I'm like, "I'm
yeah,
sorry. I think I already know where the problems lay."
yeah,
That just terrifies me. So I have the questionnaire also because some people need help, but they don't want help. And then of course I also have the fact of like if I put up a post that said, I've had availability, who's, looking for support or anything like that, I will drown in applications. So I stopped doing that. Now it's just the questionnaire, but
I see nothing
even as
wrong with that, to be honest. Yeah, to be fair, I don't see anything wrong with that. And the reason why is because if I put my support worker hat on, I'm not for everyone. It's that simple. We're either going to gel or we're not. And I would rather you spend your NDIS money that you have, which is quite limited at the moment, on somebody that you're going to gel with. It'd be better money well spent for you.
The other thing is like I do social activities and so I have like a gaming group that we run on a Sunday. Why is it run on a Sunday? Because some of the kids were going, I get bored on the weekends. I was like, all right, fair enough. We'll host it on a Sunday. And so you'll have three, maybe four. It's usually three because four is very, very loud. And they'll all get together and we play video games that are cooperative video games that people, you have to work together to accomplish these things and it's to help build those social skills. And I then also run during the school holidays social groups. So we'll go out and we'll go and do things. So like just coming up, we've got gel blasting, but I don't put it out there to everybody and go, hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody apply because quantity does not work for me. Sometimes I know some of the kids that if like one kid is interested in going to do this, I don't invite the other kid that does not get along well with them or they just butt heads. It's not that they dislike each other, it's just that they are both very competitive and it makes for a bad time. So if I don't be selective, people don't get value out of it. It makes me feel bad
Absolutely.
at times that I have to be selective, but uh,
I think it's, yeah, like you said, it's quality over quantity. And if your business is your brand and you want to be known and recognized within the sector of being one of quality, not of something that's rushed. Was there anything else that I have not mentioned that I need to chat? Because I know that we've talked about all your social media presence. We've talked about your books. We've talked about your business, your webinar coming up, your speaker gigs. Is there anything in the big wide world of Connor that I have not touched on?
I'll probably think of something after we're done, but
Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight for this podcast. I know that it was to get you on a podcast is difficult for
yeah.
timing and stuff, and you're very flexible with me. So thank you so much for tonight. I can't wait for everyone to see this work.
Awesome.